A pivotal leader in the Canadian financial and philanthropic communities, Brian Steck was part of a generation that transformed the investment industry. Brian became CEO of Nesbitt Thomson in 1987, supervised its sale to the Bank of Montreal, and became Nesbitt's chairman in 1990. He was then appointed vice chairman, investment and corporate banking, Bank of Montreal in 1992. He then led a successful merger of Nesbitt Thomson and Burns Fry and became chairman and CEO of Nesbitt Burns Corporation, a position he held until his retirement in 1999. Brian served his community by acting as chairman of the North York General Hospital and president of the Canadian Society for the Weizmann Institute of Science.
I first met Brian in 1994, right here in this building, in fact. That was the same year that we acquired Burns Fry, and it was pretty interesting because I was a very junior member of the team at the time, and Brian, of course, was a Bay Street legend. He was vice chair of the bank at that time, and he was also CEO of the investment bank. So I had the privilege of getting to know him when he was the most senior person in the company, and I was the most junior person in the company, and I learned a lot from him then. It was a long time ago, but it feels like yesterday in some respects. So biggest contribution is interesting because the timing is really important. Brian was the head of our investment bank during the time of deregulation in the industry in the late 1980s. So he was there with a front row seat. And when we combined with the Bank of Montreal, the Bank of Montreal was one of the very first to get involved in the aggregation and the consolidation in the industry. And so Brian was actually a pioneer. You know, we look today at all of the rules that we work within. Brian was actually helping shape those rules and make up the rules around capital, around talent, around technology, around integration with the rest of the bank. And all of these things that are around us today were in fact developed by Brian and some of his colleagues back then. So I remember him as an amazing pioneer in the capital markets in Canada.
He was a driver. He was very successful. He had built Nesbitt Thomson to be a fantastic firm. He was going to do the same thing with Nesbitt Burns, and that's exactly what he did. Well, Brian was driven. So I mean, he did have a social life, but it wasn't extensive. You could see him in the office early in the morning and late at night. I mean, he worked hard, and of course he loved his golf. So if there was a diversion, other than his wife, it was his golf game. So that's how I remember Brian.
I think he should be remembered as a builder, as an extraordinarily important member of the Jewish community and one of the first senior executives from the Jewish community to be prominent on Bay Street, as a very proud Montrealer, as I am, in fact, and having made an enormous contribution to the investment industry, which is, of course, why he's being honored here now. I think if he was here, he would be humbled and he would give credit to just about everybody other than himself. But we all know that he deserves a lot of that credit all by himself.